I'm Randy Jeffers, and I heard a story a number of years ago, and I just recently heard it again, but there was this guy named Jerry. Now, Jerry was the kind of guy that you just love to hate. I mean, he's a guy that's always in a good mood, always has something positive to say, never anything negative, and when someone would ask him how he was doing, he would always say, if I were any better, I'd be twins. Now, this was a very unique guy, and of course they say attitude's everything, and he had the best attitude of all, but he was a manager in a restaurant, and he had several waiters who had followed him around from restaurant to restaurant, and you know, they just loved this guy, and they loved his attitude, and they always wanted to be around him. So whenever he would move to get promoted somewhere, they always wanted to go with him. I mean, he was just this natural motivator, and if somebody was having a bad day, I mean, he was telling them, you know, just look on the positive side of the situation, and he just turned them around. You know, he just had that unique ability to do that. And so one day someone asked him, you know, they said, you know, you can't be positive all the time. I mean, how do you do it? And here's what he said. He says, you know, every morning I wake up, I say to myself, Jerry, you have two choices today. You can choose to be in a good mood, or you can choose to be in a bad mood. And I choose to be in a good mood. Now, each time something bad happens, I can choose to be a victim, or I can choose to learn from it. And I choose to learn from it every time. I mean, every time someone comes up to me complaining, I can choose to accept their complaining, or I can point out the positive side of the things that are going on in their lives. And I choose the positive stuff, you know. And so the guy that was asking says, you know, it's not that easy. And Jerry said, yes, it is. I mean, life is all about choices. You know, when you get rid of all the junk and all the gobbledygook, I mean, every situation is just a choice. You know, you choose how you react to situations. You choose how people will affect your mood. You choose to be in a good mood or a bad mood. I mean, it's always your choice. You know, how you live your life, that's entirely up to you and what you choose. And so, you know, I think that's something that we really want to reflect on. Now, Jerry, with all this positive stuff, here's what happened to him shortly after this. He left the restaurant business, he started his own business, and here's what happened to Jerry. He was closing up, and he did something that you're never supposed to do in a restaurant business, but he left the back door unlocked, and some armed robbers came in, and by gunpoint they held him up, and you know, he was trying to open the safe for them, and his hand was shaking and slipped off the combination, and one of the robbers panicked and ended up shooting him. Now, luckily, Jerry was found pretty quickly, and they rushed him to the local trauma center, and understand that he was in intensive care and surgery for like 18 hours. And you know, when he got out of the hospital, he still had some little fragments of the bullets still in his body, but you know, when someone came up to him and asked him, you know, how he was, you know what he said? He said the same thing they did before. He says, if I were any better, I'd be twins. Hey, you want to see my scars? Well, you know, what an incredible person this is. And so this guy asked him, he says, well, you know, Jerry, he says, when you were going through all that, you know, what's the first thing that went through your mind? And Jerry said, he said, the first thing I thought about was I should have locked that back door. And then as I lay on the floor, I remembered that I had two choices. I could choose to live, or I could choose to die. And I chose to live. And the guy asked him, he says, weren't you scared? You know, did you lose consciousness? And Jerry said, look, the paramedics, they were great. They kept telling me I was going to be fine, but when they wheeled me into the emergency room and I saw the expression on the faces of the doctors and the nurses, you know, I did get a little scared, and I could see it in their eyes that, you know, he's a dead man. And I knew I needed to take some action. And so the guy asked him, so what would you do? He said, well, there was this big burly nurse that was just shouting questions at me, and she asked me if I was allergic to anything, and I said, yes. And she goes, what is it? And bullets. And so they all started laughing, and he says, listen, I am choosing to live, so operate on me as if I'm alive and not dead. And see, Jerry lived, but it was because of his attitude. You know, it was, of course it was, you know, a lot of it went because of the skill of his doctors, but it was also because of this amazing attitude that he had, and it's something we can learn from him. You know, that every day we have the choice to live fully. You know, we can make our choice. We can choose the positive side, or on the other hand, you know, if we don't want to have a great life, we can choose the negative side. But really, it's attitude. You know, attitude, after all, really is everything. Here's to your absolutely incredible success.